So I was reading this book called The Culture Code, and it's by a psychiatrist who works with big corporations to help them with their marketing, understand why people do what they do and what associations they have to their products. And what makes his approach unique is that whereas a lot of marketing people will bring in focus groups and ask them questions and then go over the information, what he did differently is he would have long focus groups that could be 3 hours long, and they would be in rooms that were dimly lit, soft music playing. And as the people got more and more relaxed, the questions he would ask would become more unconscious in nature. And what ended up usually occurring is that people would go back in time to when they were children, and he would get back to their earliest, what he would call imprints or associations that they had to certain behaviors or certain products. And what he did that was kind of cool is that he would give it a code word. Right? So let me give you an example of what I mean. He was working with Jeep, the vehicle maker, and so they wanted to increase the sales of their Wrangler line, which is kind of the typical Jeep that you may think of. And so when he went through this process with them, he comes up with the code word horse, right? And so this was in America, by the way, and that's important. I'll tell you why in a second. So they come up with the code word horse, right? And basically it's just a code word that means it's like you're riding a horse, right? The air is blowing through your hair, you're out in the open, you're exploring, you know what I mean, the land, you can go where, cars can't go. And so that word horse kind of defines and describes all that. Now he did the same process with the Jeep in Europe, and the word there became liberator because their imprints of the Jeep was different. It was from World War II, and they remember the Allied generals driving around in Jeeps. And so the code word there was liberator. Okay, so that's the idea, that we have these code words that describe a lot of the feelings that we have for certain things and the reasons why we do certain actions. And what he found is it's different for different cultures. So I'm glad you stuck with me here, because now I want to get to something that you may find useful. And it is about why people overeat. And so he explored that and did a research session on that. The code word he came up for why people overeat in America is that he gave it checking out. Okay, so that when people are putting weight on, the very deepest core reason that's happening is that they, life's stressful and they just want to check out. They can't deal with what's going on. And the food offers them an easy way to just kind of check out and forget about all that stuff. So I found that to be interesting because, again, I've seen that in my own work with people and in my own life, that when things get tough, it's very easy, to go towards the food. But I want to share that with you because, again, you may or may not recognize that as a motivator, if you've ever struggled with your weight. But I think if you start to realize these deeper unconscious imprints or ideas you may have, the more you can recognize those, the more opportunity and chance you have to change them. Okay, and so if this does resonate with you, if this idea of checking out, that's kind of what I do, at least now you can kind of bring it to the surface and realize it's not just that you love the taste of the food. That's the key point here. It's that there's this strong emotional part of it that you want to check out. And so again, it's not just that the food's addictive, and it is, but it's also that emotionally you just need to check out. You need a break. And so once you recognize that may be, what's affecting your eating, you can go to work on the real problem, right? And the problem is not that you just need to, stop eating sweets. It's that you need to find ways to reduce stress. You need to find ways to deal with what's going on in your life in a more genuine way. And one other code I want to share with you. He talked about the code for health. And again, this is in America because it's different in different cultures. But in America, the code for health was movement. And so meaning that on a deep unconscious level, us Americans define being healthy as being able to move. And again, it's not just physically moving, but even within our lives, economically, always trying to move to a higher level, always being able to move. And that if we lose that movement, that is the definition of being unhealthy to us. And so, again, I just thought I'd share that with you. I found that to be interesting. They're spot on with me, those two codes. And he has a lot of other codes in the book too. They're pretty interesting. I'm going to do a review of this book, and I'll go into more of that as well. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for that. But so, if these resonate with you, and they may or may not, but if they do, begin, again, just today, spend a little time thinking about that. Am I checking out? Is that kind of the core thing I'm looking for? If it is, what are some alternative ways to check out? Checking out's not bad. It's the behavior, right? If the only way you have to check out is to eat, that's where the problem is, okay? And I promise you, there's other ways to check out. okay, that won't make you overweight, that have nothing to do with calories. And then the flip side, as far as your health goes, if it is movement, and again, it's not just physical movement, although that's part of it. It's mental, emotional movement. It's being active. It's doing things. Again, it's hardwired into the American unconscious. And so, if that resonates with you as a definition and idea of health, again, begin to think of some ways you can begin to move a little bit more. Create a lifestyle that's more movement based. And again, in all those ways, not just physically, mentally, and emotionally. Start reading some books, start learning some new things, start doing some things that make you excited, that you're going to kind of change, create new direction in your life. Again, because it's all going to help you, create the lifestyle and the quality of life that you want. So again, it's kind of a cool way to look at things, that there are these unconscious ideas and beliefs we have that are directing so much of our behavior, these imprints we have that affect so much of what we do. And that's kind of the bigger point of it. So I hope you enjoy this. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.